Winterburn and dieback are common problems for broadleaf evergreens like rhododendron and boxwood, and then just conifers in general because they do something called transpiration. And I want to show you a few things you can do right now to minimize the chances of damage to any of your conifers and broadleaf evergreens this winter. My first line of defense is making sure that all of my evergreens are watered in really well before the ground freezes completely. So to do that, I use up all the water in my rain barrel to prevent it from splitting. I've had the problem of forgetting to empty my rain barrel and then it splits during the winter time. So I use all of the water from this to water in all of my evergreens, and then if there's a few that I can't get to, I just take the hose to it and get them watered in really well. You want to make sure that there's enough moisture locked in around those roots before the ground freezes. Evergreens do something deciduous trees don't do. They lose moisture all winter long, and it's because the leaves are in place. So the broader the leaf, the more moisture they lose. And if the ground is not properly watered before they go into winter, you've got an even bigger problem. That's when this dieback happens and the winter burn occurs. Plants like boxwood, holly, and this rhododendron here lose moisture at an even greater rate because they have a bigger leaf surface. So the larger the leaf, the more moisture they lose. But there's one more thing you can do to prevent leaf burn in winter dieback. I use a product called Wilt Stop by Bonide. It's an organic product, it's pine resin, so it's really, really sticky. So whatever sprayer you use this in, make sure either you rinse your sprayer thoroughly immediately after you use this stuff, or you just use a garbage sprayer and pitch the sprayer as soon as you're done with it. But what this stuff does is it locks in all the moisture in those broadleaf evergreens and all of your conifers really. But you can't apply it at just any old time. There's a window there that you can apply it, and it's best applied sometime after your first frost when all of the moisture in those leaves and those needles is signaled to go back into the roots. So once that happens, the plant goes dormant, then you can apply your Wilt Stop. But you also have a temperature constraint too. So somewhere between 35 and 45 degrees Fahrenheit is your application window temperature, I guess you could say. And you want to cover the entire evergreen, top and bottom, to make sure that it locks all of that in. And the reason why you want to spray it on a day that's not freezing is because you don't want this to freeze on the leaf. You want it to dry on the leaf so that it effectively locks in all of that moisture. And you also don't want to apply this until after you've well watered the root ball. So it's a two-pronged approach. You water the soil around your whatever conifer or broadleaf evergreen that you want to help along, and then you apply this during that temperature window. All I'm going to add is 21 fluid ounces to a gallon sprayer, and I have an EZ1 sprayer. There are much bigger sprayers out there, but I find that for my smaller space garden, I don't really need those giant sprayers. This is a 1 gallon. It's a perfect size for my garden. So just 21 fluid ounces, shake it up well. Maybe wear gloves if you're really concerned about the stickiness, but like I said, you're going to want to make sure that, I really love this sprayer. I'll link to it in the caption below, but I'm going to make sure that I rinse this with some Dawn detergent and hot water and really run it through after I use this stuff. But I'm going to apply this liberally so that it's completely covering all of my evergreens. I'm not going to spray all of the evergreens in my garden, just the ones that I planted this year, especially the ones that I planted later than I normally do. I put a few evergreens in mid to late October, which is kind of late for me. So I'm going to make sure I cover those guys too, just to give them a little extra help in case they didn't get the moisture they needed this fall. And we really didn't get a whole lot of rain this fall. So I just want to help them along and make sure they come through the winter as healthy as possible. This stuff is also great if you do winter containers. It helps keep those greens greener and alive longer into the winter. Or maybe you live next to a street and it's salted in the wintertime. It also protects evergreens from salt spray. And if you have a blue evergreen like this blue cloak concolor fir, the spray might turn it a bit green. It might diminish that blue coloring for the wintertime, but it's not going to harm it. It will return next spring. The color will return next spring. And one other tip, make sure you spray upwind from it because you can spray into the wind and it'll come right back at you, and it is a sticky mess. And that's all there is to preventing winter burn and sun scorch, all the bad things that happen to evergreens in the wintertime in a northern exposure. And a good rule of thumb when it comes to trees and shrubs in the garden: for deciduous trees, you want to water for about 2 years after planting, water regularly. For conifers and broadleaf evergreens, 3 years, just to make sure that those roots get really established so that they can weather these cold winter months and dry winter months in some cases. And that two-prong approach with watering them in well, water them as long as you can until your ground freezes. Water them and then apply the Wilt Stop on a warm day, somewhere between 35 and 45 degrees, maybe a little warmer, but after your first frost happens too, so the plant knows that it's time to go dormant and send all of its moisture into that root ball. And the Wilt Stop just helps to give it a little extra help conserving moisture through the winter. So I hope this helped, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one. See you guys.